Why is college football conference revenue split unfairly? Imagine a game where some players get a lot more chances to score than others. That's kind of what happens with how college football shares its money. Certain conferences and schools end up with way more cash than others, and it's not really fair. The main reason is how the sport makes its money and how it decides who gets what. The biggest source of revenue comes from television deals, bowl game payouts, and the college football playoff. Big conferences like the Big Ten, Southeastern Conference, Atlantic Coast Conference, Pacific 12 Conference, and Big 12 have huge TV contracts because they have larger fan bases and more popular teams. For example, the Big Ten reported earning over $928 million in 2024, and that number is expected to go over $1.2 billion in 2025. Smaller conferences don't get nearly as much because they don't have the same TV ratings or big-name teams. The way money is split within conferences also favors the teams that do well and make it to the college football playoff. Schools that qualify for the playoff and participate in major bowl games get extra money. Each team that makes it can bring in around $4 to $6 million for their conference, and they also get additional funds for expenses. Power conference teams often have several teams in the playoff, so they get a lot more money overall. Smaller schools rarely get to that level, so they miss out on these big payouts. Another factor is how the rules around sharing money are set up. Conferences can decide how to divide their funds, and they often give more to schools with bigger markets or better football programs. This means flagship schools get a larger share than smaller members. Plus, new rules that link revenue to viewership and success keep the money flowing mostly to the top teams. The result is a widening gap. Schools in the biggest conferences get nearly 12 times more money from conference revenue than schools in lower-tier divisions. In 2002, the average was about $6 million per school each year, but by 2023, it jumped to over $43 million. This huge difference makes it harder for smaller schools to compete because they can't invest as much in facilities, coaches, or recruiting. It also affects sports that don't generate as much money, like non-revenue sports, which often get cut at smaller schools. This system reflects the reality that big markets, large fan bases, and successful teams bring in the most money. But it also raises questions about fairness because it concentrates wealth among a few elite programs. Smaller schools struggle to keep up, and that can limit fairness in competition. Some recent changes to how revenue is shared, like direct payments to student athletes and caps on pools of money, are trying to fix these issues. Still, the big divide remains. In practical terms, schools in the power conferences can spend more on facilities, coaching staff, and recruiting, which helps them stay ahead. Smaller programs often can't match that level of investment. This creates a cycle where the richest schools stay on top, and the smaller schools find it harder to catch up. That's why the way college football shares its money often feels unfair to many fans and analysts.